Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this meeting, I would like to explain the relation between meaning, thought, and reality. For the first part, let's try to understand the concept of meaning first. Before we understand the meaning, we should know how we can use language to describe something in the world. For example, here we have the sentence, "We've just flown back from Paris." In this sentence, we have the word Paris. Paris refers to the name of a city. The entity referred to is usually called referent. So here, Paris is a referent. Names allows us to pick out those specific individuals and specific places. So name is something specific. Name of a city like Paris is something specific because it refers to specific things, something like individuals or places. Now we try to differ between the word referring and referent. Referring or denoting is the action of picking and identifying with words such as King Abdullah as referred to a person or Paris as referred to a place. While referent, this is the entity referred to. So the same as the previous slide, the example of the referent, for example, is King Abdullah or Paris. Here are the name of the places. But Lyons, one of the semanticists, made a distinction between the term referring and denoting. In Lyons' concept, referring is used for the action, while denoting is used for the relationship between a linguistic expression and the world. So referring is what speakers do, and denoting is a property of words. Reference is a moment-by-moment relationship. It changes, depends on the context. While denotation here is a stable relationship and not dependent on any context. This is almost the same as what we call as sense in our last discussion. But now, in our discussion, we will use the term proposed by Saeed, which said that referring and denoting are the same. To understand the meaning, Saeed proposed two approaches of meaning. First is referential or denotational, and the second is representational. In the referential approach, or also called denotational, as Saeed term, meaning is the action of putting words into relationship with the world. It means that we can give the meaning of words and sentences by showing how they relate to situations. In this approach, it is identified by showing how they relate to situations. It can be by sentences or by nouns. Using nouns, for example, are meaningful because they denote entities in the world, and using sentences denote situations and events. For example, here we have two sentences. The first one is, "There is a club in Grafton Street," and the second one is, "There isn't a club in Grafton Street." So almost the same but different. Two situations describe different situations. So if we assume the sentences were spoken at the same time about the same street, then they can be said to be incompatible. That is, one of them is a false description of the situation. So it means that in the previous example, the first sentence is about the existence of a club and another one is about the inexistence of the club. So one is the false description. The second approach is representational approach. In this view, a language represents a theory about reality, about the types of things and situations in the world. Thus, a speaker can choose to view the same situation in different ways. Their emphasis is on the way that our reports about reality are influenced by the conceptual structures conventionalized in our language. In representational approaches, meaning derives from language being a reflection of our conceptual structures. So we can say same situation with different ways. As two examples here. The first is John is sleeping, and the second is John is asleep. Actually, both situations are the same, but we use different sentences to express these same situations. The first is using the activity, and the second one is showing a state. Sleeping is an activity, asleep is a state. So such situations are influenced by a language conventional way of viewing situations. So we live in different culture, we live in different language, so we have different way to describe or to say something. For example, in English language, if someone say, I have a cold, it means that someone's condition is having an influenza. In English, the person possesses the disease. So that's why the expression is using have. But in Indonesian, we cannot use the possession to say the same thing. We use saya pilek. So in this way, we use a state sentence. The point here is that different conceptualizations influence the description of the real world situation. So each language may have different way to say a situation. Okay, as the summary for our presentation today, in referential theories, meaning derives from language being attached to or grounded in reality. And representational approaches, meaning derives from language being a reflection of our conceptual structures. So from this presentation, you will know that there are two approaches of meaning called denotational and representational. Okay, if you have questions, you may ask. Thank you for listening.